Wanted to do a very brief, quick video about this because I hear many of these false Trump prophets. They go to what I'm about to touch on. Timothy Dixon, I've heard him try to speak it multiple times. Robin Bullock, all the false Trump prophets go to this, but what I'm going to show you is that there is a deeper understanding behind it, that God does reveal all things through His holy word. He reveals everything if people would only learn the Bible inside and out, forwards and backwards. You'll begin to start seeing many of these things that have been separated in the Bible. You'll start to see how they actually come together. So what we know, and the reason again I do this is to show just how little discernment Timothy Dixon and all these other false Trump prophets have. So what we know from Genesis chapter 1 verse 26, where it states, "And God said, let us make man in our image after our likeness." So if He made us in His image, then we are in His likeness. We have two eyes. We only have two eyes. And when you go to Revelation 19 verse 12, you'll see that the Lord's eyes were like a flame of fire. His eyes, His two eyes, are like flames of fire. And then you go to, take that and go to Psalm 104 verse 4, where it states, "God who maketh His angels spirits and His ministers a flaming fire." There's your relevance right there. See that His eyes, when you go to, we're made in His image and in His likeness, and His eyes are like a flame of fire. His two eyes are like a flame of fire, and He makes His ministers a flaming fire. So what Timothy Dixon and these other ones do is they all claim themselves to be God's ministers, when God only has two eyes. He only has two eyes, and we are made in His image. We have two eyes, therefore He has two eyes, and His eyes are like a flame of fire. Therefore, and He makes His ministers a flaming fire. So He only has two specific ministers that are a flaming fire, when Timothy Dixon and these other ones all claim that they are His ministers and they are flames of fire, made like flames of fire. And the relevance that can be found here is in Revelation chapter 11, where it's speaking of the two witnesses. These are the two olive trees and the two candlesticks. That's why it's called, they look like also not just olive trees, but also candlesticks, because they are a flaming fire. See that there are only two. Only two. They're not all these ones like, so what Hank Kunneman, Robin Bullock, Kent Christmas, Timothy Dixon, they all put themselves in this category. They all try to categorize themselves as if they are God's ministers. They categorize themselves as God's ministers who are a flaming fire, who are made as a flaming fire. But again, as I've pointed out, we are made in His image and after His likeness. Therefore, we have two eyes. Therefore, He has two eyes. Therefore, there are only two true ministers that are made like a flaming fire, and that is the two witnesses that is found in Revelation 11. So when you hear these ones, these false Trump prophets who commit idolatry and have said that Donald Trump is the Messiah of America, I want to remind you of what Scripture says in Psalm 146 verse 3. "Do not put your faith in a leader, because he cannot save." So all of these ones who have put their faith in Donald Trump have committed idolatry. And they literally, I've shown many times, they have committed idolatry of the worst kind, of the absolute worst kind, by doing this. But this is just a manner, and this helps you to have a better understanding. This helps you to realize the significance of knowing the Bible, knowing everything that it says, because when you know the whole thing, you know, this is a problem that I see with even ministers. So you know, it's not just a regular person's problem. It's a lot of ministers' problem also. They compartmentalize the Bible so much that they miss the bigger picture, and they miss so many things that are explained in Scripture in depth, in great detail. But this is why God did this. He wants people to know all of His Word. You know, this is the whole big picture, the big scheme of things. Don't miss the forest because of one tree. When you compartmentalize the Bible, you try to break it down into chapter by chapter instead of just letting it flow like living waters, which is what it was always meant to be. That's when you start seeing the bigger picture, and you can see the hidden things that were always there to be seen. Like this. This is very important. And see how it's broken up. And everything, or most of the teachings that I've done, you'll see that you have to get it from different books in the Bible. God made us in His image, in His likeness. We have two eyes, so does He. And His eyes were like a flame of fire, and His ministers are like a flaming fire, and His ministers are the flame of fire of a candlestick. Only two true ministers that are like a flaming fire. See how incredible? When you know the whole Bible, you'll begin to see all the things you were meant to see. All the things, the hidden things. You know, Jesus spoke in parables, but you don't have to not only look for the parables or trying to understand the parables. There are things that are in the Bible that some would consider a secret, but it's not really a secret. It's there for anybody to find and see. As long as you know the Bible forwards and backwards, inside and out, you'll begin to see all these things, all these clues and details that most people miss, even long-time ministers. I mean, I talk with many long-time ministers and point things out like this. This is just one example. Things that I point out to them that they never saw because they spend too much time trying to compartmentalize verse by verse or chapter by chapter or book by book. Think of it as if, you know, Jesus said these are His living waters. So when you look at the Bible, think of it as an entire body of water. An entire body. It's an entire body of work. Don't just compartmentalize. Try to see the bigger picture. Don't miss the forest because of one tree. God bless.